Hello everyone and welcome to another access control coaching session. My name is Cole Nebeker. I am the Training and Events Manager for PDK. And in today's session, we are going to be covering cameras. We're going to cover quite a broad variety of topics about cameras, but the pinnacle of this, I think, is going to be showing how easy and seamless these integrations really are when integrating with PDK's access control. So, we do these sessions once a month. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so that you don't miss any of these. And also worth noting, we are on a 30-second delay, so what you are hearing right now, I said 30 seconds ago, and that means that it is important for you to put down your questions as soon as they come to you in the comments bar so that at the end of this video, I can go through and address any of those questions. So, let's get into the presentation here. And thank you, JR. I agree. This is a great topic. Now, let's first cover why we would even integrate in the first place. So, integration between cameras and access control can seem as, it almost seems like a moot point, right? You have two different softwares performing two very different functions. But it's not that way at all. There's actually a lot of really good reasons across the board why you would integrate your cameras with your access control. Now, the first one is going to be convenience. And I think this is what a lot of people think it is. They're just like, well, it's just about convenience and I don't really care. I'll just manage my two softwares separately. And that's totally fine. If that's you, then do that. You can manage your access control and your camera in two separate places. However, there is a strong point that can be made about the security. And you'll notice that the rest of these points have a lot to do with security. So specific to security, you can reduce the chances that you miss something important. So when you have a camera feed live with all of your access events filtering through in real time as you have the camera feed open, that can be very valuable. And I don't want to spoil some of these other points, so I'm just going to run through them real quick before I get too deep into what I mean by that. The next point, review. So you can make it easier to simultaneously review access logs at the same time as video feeds. Obviously, that points to the same security functionality. However, the next point I think is often overlooked, verification. You can verify that the people accessing a location are actually the credential holder. Access control, despite all of what it accomplishes, has one primary limitation, and that is if somebody steals a credential, you can't actually verify without a camera that that person is who they say they are, with the exception of maybe more advanced configurations like two-factor authentication, which is definitely an option. However, if you're running just a very basic access control system, it is sometimes advantageous to have a camera running at the same time so that the security team can verify that the people accessing that location are in fact the same person as the credential holder says they are. So when they badge against the reader, it says Cole Nebeker has requested access at the door. You look at the camera, you see, yes, it is Cole Nebeker. The alternative to that is maybe you have a badge credential that says, hey, Cole Nebeker has presented at the door, and you look at the camera and you see that it is in fact Keith, and Keith has stolen Cole's credential. The next bit is auditing. So audit logs are very important, and that's why PDK offers the ability in the reporting tab to pull audit logs from 3 months, 1 year, 5 years, whatever reporting plan you choose. However, having two separate audit logs are sometimes needed, maybe for law enforcement purposes. If you have a break-in, it's one thing to have a forced alarm activate on the PDK side, but it's another thing entirely to be able to link up that forced alarm with a video event so that you can see the forced alarm being reenacted live in a video feed. So there's a lot of advantages to linking your two different systems together. You have one visual and you have one audit-based system working together. Now, dependent on the kind of camera manufacturer that you go with, there's actually different capabilities dependent on what they offer versus how the integration works. And I'm going to kind of show you what each of them offers a little bit here. but your capabilities might include things like soft triggers. Soft triggers are really nice because that kind of goes back to the convenience factor. The convenience of that is that you can view a live camera feed and you can see a lock and unlock icon live in that video feed. And if somebody approaches the door, let's say you're security personnel, you see somebody approach the gate, you can open the gate in real time from that video feed. It's effectively accomplishing the same kind of purpose as a video intercom might, but it's a little more centric around the camera itself and the surveillance side of things, rather than just the convenience of going up and calling a tenant. It's more appropriate for, say, a security team. The next thing is linked video events. So you can link your video events with your access events, and depending on the software, it'll look a little bit different from software to software, but generally what it looks like is you have a video feed live on one part of your screen, and then in the other part of your screen you have the live access events filtering down as the events occur in real time on the screen. So it helps to have, again, kind of that assurance that you are seeing all sides of the story in real time. Now, a couple of our camera manufacturers also can take this one step further. They can actually link PDK-IO management in the camera software itself. So instead of having two separate softwares that you manage to configure the system, you effectively just have one single pane of glass where you can manage all of your credential holders, view the live events, pull reports, interact with doors, while also managing all the cameras and changing the displays and the interfaces and viewing the access logs from there as well. Now, I know of at least one of our camera manufacturers that can also verify that the credential holder is the same person as presents in the video feed. So that can also be an option. That one does require some level of artificial intelligence, which may require an additional subscription cost or a specific type of camera, which I won't get into too much, but just needless to say, there are cameras with all sorts of bells and whistles out there. You can configure alerts either from the PDK side or the camera side. A lot of them have really robust rules engines where you can enter a statement to say, if this thing happens, then do this. And then finally, you have license plate reader integrations, and that's maybe a little more native to PDK-IO. You can go into the integrations tab and you can configure a license plate reader to automatically unlock, typically gates, for a specific license plate that approaches that gate. Now, I want to get into a couple of videos showing some common integrations of our camera integration partners. So the first one here I'm going to show you is Camect, and they are about a year old, I want to say. Now you'll see, you'll just go to the integrations tab, you hit enable and configure. You'll be brought to the sign-in page, and all you do is you sign in to your account. You'll give it permissions. I did it through Google. But you can see that you log in and it gives you the option to add a hub. So once you add the hub, that is going to allow you to go back and configure which doors are associated with which cameras. So that one's one of the examples of the far easier integrations that we have. So you can simply log in, I chose to do it through Google, add a hub and configure the doors from there. Okay, the next one, we're going to do Digital Watchdog. So again, we go to the integrations page, hit manage, and we would hit enable and then configure, and we'll be brought to the DW Cloud page. We log in with our cloud account. So I'm going to log in here, and it will bring me to this page right here where I can select which DW system I want to use and which cloud node I want to use. So if I have access to multiple DW systems, I can select which one of those I want to use. Now, the ProData Key Office, if I'm not mistaken, is not usable in this one. So you're going to notice me actually switch back and change it to the DW Tampa, which is their corporate headquarters. The DW Tampa demo has a whole bunch of cameras, and I'm going to link it to the cloud node Sin City, which is our Las Vegas reps cloud node. Now, that will load a live feed of all of the cameras that I have access to. From here, all I need to do is map devices and the events. So I chose to link one device to this first camera, and I can select any of the access events inside of there. And then very importantly, I need to select which user roles are going to be able to manage the access within that camera feed. Now, I didn't show it in this one, but the soft triggers appear in the Digital Watchdog Spectrum software as just a little lock and unlock icon. And then on the right side, there's a bunch of access events, and it takes a little snapshot each time an access event that I marked in the PDK-IO software is enabled. So I know I talked really fast there, but we're going to see a very similar integration here with Hanwha, so I'll cover what I missed with Digital Watchdog. So Hanwha, of course, uses WiseNet, so we go to the integrations page, we select WiseNet Wave, we hit configure, and you'll notice that it has a very similar login page here. We just log in using those same credentials. Now once we get into this, you're going to see that it is, if we get rid of that pop-up window, if we select our Wave demo, and then select SimCity again, you can see I can still map to some of the same devices I did in the Digital Watchdog feed, and I have some of the same user roles and access events. So you've got a whole list of access events that you can log within Spectrum or WiseNet, and you just select any of those events and which roles, which Hanwha or Digital Watchdog roles have the ability to interact with those triggers, the access control functionality. Okay, so that is what Digital Watchdog and WiseNet both look like. I should say Hanwha, not WiseNet. Now, next up we have OpenEye, and this one is a little bit different in how the workflow goes, and I think a lot of people get choked up here. So we're going to go to Configure, and we are going to log in using our credentials, and we'll be brought to a page that does look fairly similar to the previous one. I'm going to go to OpenEye Software, and I am going to select Management. When I select Management, I'm going to go to Integrations and add a new integration. And when I add a new integration, it shows you all of the integrations that they work with. PDK is one of those. Now, when we go to the PDK integration, we have the option to create a new key. Now, I'm going to stop you here. You are going to have to name the key, and you are actually going to have to enter two separate keys, if you will. I don't think that's the correct terminology here, but you'll see what I mean. The first thing we're going to do is name the key and then copy this secret key. Okay, so I'm going to name it new key. I'm going to copy that, and that's very important. You have to copy this key first and paste it in before you proceed. Okay, so I pasted it there. Now I proceed, and that creates a new key, the API access key. I'm going to copy that one and enter it in. Those are two separate keys. And I think that's where a lot of people get held up, is they hit continue before they actually paste that first key, which disappears after you hit continue. So you need to make sure that you are doing this in real time in conjunction with the PDK-IO platform. So copy the first one when you reach that pop-up dialog box, hit continue, copy the access key ID, and paste that. And as soon as both of those have lined up, you are going to get your live camera feed, just like we did with all of the previous ones. Now from here, we're going to select our OpenEye location, our cloud node, and a notification email if we want to be notified of certain things, and we can select which PDK devices. Now a lot of this is done over in the OpenEye platform, so from here we are just going to select and get rid of that pop-up window. I don't know what it was feeling in this video, it just kept popping up. We're going to select which devices are associated with which cameras. So pretty straightforward from there. Okay, next we have Turing. Turing is also going to follow a slightly different workflow. Lots of this configuration is done from the Turing page. So we're going to enable it, and you'll notice we don't have a configure button. We're going to instead go back to this page, the main page, and we're going to navigate to Turing. Now in Turing, the first thing we need to do is make sure we have a site, and in our case it's called the Pro Data Key Office. I have created it, it's functional, it's up and running. Next up we need to go to Access under Devices and hit Add, and we're going to add a PDK integration. you'll see here that it asks for a system ID or assembly serial number. The system ID is the one you want to follow. That is the PDK-IO 2.0 integration. Now you'll notice that I swap over to the PDK page and go to System Settings, and right at the top there's a System ID. You just hit that copy button. You copy it, paste it, confirm it. Then it will pop up with all of your cloud nodes that you can choose from. We have a lot of cloud nodes on the system. So I'm gonna, again, select SimCity. I don't know what I have with SimCity, but I keep choosing it. And we've added both of our cloud nodes. Be sure to hit the Sync Latest, and then go back a page and you'll notice a whole bunch of devices have popped up. And it'll say no camera under each of them. What we need to do now is define which cameras are pointing at which doors. And you can actually assign multiple doors to a single camera. So let's say that the main entrance and the back door for some reason are in the same field of view of one camera. We can click on both of those and add the same camera to each of those, and it will show us all of the access logs associated with both the main or the main floor. It's small text. I'm sorry. I'm not able to see it. But back door, it will show us all of the logs associated with that. Okay, so let's continue. When you click on it, it is going to give you the option to add a camera. You can see I have unfortunately let my Turing subscription expire. But if I were to have a live subscription, it would show me all the live views of my cameras. I just simply pick and match which ones, and then I hit this refresh icon in order to populate all the access logs. You can see all of the event types, the time frames that you can populate within the Turing platform. Okay, so that is the configuration of all of your major integration partners. I know we didn't get to all of them, time prohibits that, but hopefully that gives you a good idea of what the integration process is like with PDK. The design is really to be as simple as is humanly possible. So let's get into some more, what's the word I'm looking for? Some more practicable techniques we can use to maximize our integration capabilities. So first and foremost, make sure you have the right event sync with your camera platform. It doesn't do us much use to try to pull a camera audit log of door propped events if you don't have a DPS installed. The example I gave here is include a door propped event if you have a DPS installed, but not a door forced event if you don't have a REX. Ultimately, all I'm saying here is just know the limits of your access control system. The logs are only going to be as accurate on both the PDK and the camera side as the logs that you configure within the PDK system prior to integration. Second, map all your doors to the correct cameras. Many camera manufacturers allow you to link multiple cameras to a single door, so take advantage of any cameras in the vicinity. I note this one because a lot of people sometimes just think that they can only do one door to one camera, and maybe there's a secondary camera position that can kind of see the first door, and you just don't even bother with linking the two together. Just do it. A lot of these camera manufacturers allow you to link multiple cameras to a single door. And that way, not only can you see all the audit logs with that door on multiple camera feeds, you can also see the soft triggers for that door in multiple camera feeds. Configure your access control system to take full advantage of the recording capabilities of your camera. For example, install every door with a DPS and REX. And I cannot stress this enough. There's some basic access control stuff that is just going to work regardless. Access allowed, access denied, duress pin entered, things like that where sure, you have all of the boxes checked, you have all the basic access control functionality attached to that camera. So many people do not use a DPS and REX. It is insane to me. You should install a DPS and a REX wherever possible and wherever practical. Now, admittedly, there are some situations that it does not make sense to install either a DPS or a REX, but I would argue a huge majority of those are just being missed, and those are very valuable audit logs that are being missed by the camera feed. Finally, consider the capabilities of each integration and make sure they're right for your application. The cameras range wildly in their outdoor rated capabilities, their AI capabilities, facial recognition, license plate reading, infrared. There's so many different kinds of cameras, and I won't pretend that I'm the expert on cameras. But make sure that you consider what you need in an integration and make sure that that integration works for you. Now, I'm going to cover this later in the presentation, but we have lots of resources available to you that you can use to determine what the right integration partner is for you. The very best resource, I think, is our inside sales team. So when you call PDK's main line, 801-317-8802, extension 1, I believe they are, or maybe they're 2, I forget. I think they're extension 1. You get directed to the inside sales team. And our inside sales team spends hours meeting with different integration partners every week and learning what their capabilities are and how they integrate into the system and how they can maximize value for a customer. So if you ever need to know which camera integration is right for you, you can reach out and maybe they'll ask you, hey, what camera integrations do you currently use? Oh, you use Digital Watchdog. Well, I know their capabilities are this, this, and this. Oh, you're looking for this other thing. Okay, well, we can help you out with that. So they are a great resource for you. I think I just spoiled a later part of my presentation. Yeah, it's the final point on this page. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Let's get into some installation best practices. So be sure to use the correct models, software, NVR, you name it, that is compatible with integrating to PDK. I don't know all of them off the top of my head. The example I'm thinking of is a specific software or firmware version with like Digital Watchdog or Hanwha that is compatible with the 2.0 integration of PDK into it, because it has to be this cloud-based webhook that is accomplished. So sometimes you need to make sure that you have the correct camera models or NVR models or even software or even licensing to integrate into PDK. It's not just one size fits all. You have to make sure that that camera can somehow see the cloud, that the webhooks can be connected, and therefore you can interact with the system through the cloud. If you ever have questions on that, my recommendation is to reach out to the manufacturer, because they will know probably better than even PDK sales team exactly which models of their product are able to access the cloud and connect links between different APIs. Align the cameras in a way that's conducive to viewing access events. This is probably already being accomplished just by the general viewing angle of the cameras. The cameras are already usually installed in such a way that they're, let's say 8 feet up and have a view of X amount of the room and there's no blind spots and blah, blah, blah. That's fine. But if you are going to link any cameras to your access control, take a little extra consideration to make sure that those cameras are actually viewing the stuff that is pertinent to your access control logs. So what I mean by that is, let's say you have a camera above a door that is going to be viewing access logs, but you don't point the camera down enough to capture the reader or the front of the door even. You can't even see the door. That's not a perfect scenario, because in that case you can't actually see who presented what at the door, and sure, you can see, oh, this is when the logs went off, but you can't actually see what was being accomplished at that door right at that time. I hope that makes sense. So try to point the cameras in a way that not only meets the general criteria of how you try to mount a camera within a room to ensure it's optimal, but also ensure that it is positioned in such a way that it can retrieve access logs that make sense. Consider using PDK's PoE module. That'll just simply unify all of the communication and power for your site into a single communication standard. And that's just an easy way to say, okay, I have 8 cameras, I have 8 doors, I'm going to buy a 16-port switch that has PoE plus capabilities. And then you're going to run all of the power and all of the backups through that switch. That's a very easy way to simplify a job site. Know the setup process for the camera you're installing. Some integrations require logging into accounts and assigning cameras. Others require copying and pasting keys or IDs. I kind of showed this in the previous videos. Every integration is slightly different. Some of them are almost identical, like the Digital Watchdog and Hanwha ones. Those ones have almost the same interface on the PDK side. But OpenEye, even though it does look fairly similar on the PDK side, it requires a few keys that you need to copy and paste from the OpenEye platform. CamEct requires you to add a hub. So be familiar with what those requirements are prior to doing the install. You may need to reach out to, let's say, Turing to get set up with a Turing account prior to installing and integrating a PDK Turing platform. So make sure you have reached out to them and you have both PDK.io and the Turing Vision platform available to you. And the point that I spoiled, if you're ever unsure what cameras are suitable for you and your customer, reach out to PDK's sales team. There were a lot of camera manufacturers that I was not able to get to in this video, and it's not to say that they are any lesser than any of our other camera partners. We have a lot of very impressive and very capable camera integrations, and I really do wish I was able to show all of them. Different camera manufacturers have different strengths that we can apply to certain verticals, to certain scenarios. So the problem with it, with having so many awesome integration partners, is that we can't possibly cover all of the scenarios that might work for you and your customer. So that's why I emphasize, reach out to the sales team if you need suggestions or introductions to manufacturers. If you've never worked with somebody and you're just like, I want to try installing maybe one of their cameras as a demo system in my shop, we can make introductions. The sales team has contact information for our integration partners where we can reach out and make those introductions and assist you with finding the perfect combination of access control security and surveillance security. So again, I just want to emphasize that you can always reach out to the sales team. Again, it's 801-317-8802, or it's sales, S-A-L-E-S, at ProDataKey.com. I'm really throwing them under the bus. I didn't tell them that I was going to direct all camera traffic their way, but here we are. Go ask for forgiveness. Okay, that is the whole presentation. If anybody has any questions, be sure to leave them right now. We're on a 30-second delay and the countdown is beginning. I'm going to delay for about 30 seconds to give you time to type out your answers, but after that 30 seconds is up, I cannot make any promises. We do these coaching sessions once a month, and it's on the first Tuesday of every month. These coaching sessions are meticulously thought out by taking input from our support team and our sales team and our product team and combined to create something that we feel would be most beneficial to our integration partners out in the field. So we're constantly looking for new ideas. If you have any ideas, be sure to leave them in the comments so that we can prepare them for, I think we're planned out to March next year already, but we can always add them, we can inject them into that. So if you have any recommendations for coaching topics, be sure to let us know. Reach out to the sales team if you have any questions on cameras or maybe a recommendation for a specific job site that you have in mind. I see that we have a question from Tyler2216. In your opinion, what VMS system is the simplest to configure and use? Well, that's kind of a tricky question because I love all of them. I'm kind of a sucker for cool technology and AI and all that. I would say from the PDK standpoint, the simplest to configure and use on our side right now is Digital Watchdog and Hanwha. And X-Witness, I should say. I should lump them in there too. That said, I do not really pick favorites in that regard. They're probably the easiest to configure from the PDK side, but do they have all of the features and the bells and whistles that you want and the AI and the audit logs and the software interface that you want? Maybe. maybe not. Maybe there is somebody that you want to try that requires slightly more configuration on the PDK side. Let's take OpenEye, for example. They're fairly similar to the Digital Watchdog and Hanwha interface, but they require copying 2 keys, which I think some people could perceive as, well, that's too much work. I don't want to deal with them. But I know a lot of really devout OpenEye installers that would just say, you know what, that's just part of the process. The benefit to having OpenEye is greater than just having the simpler interface. So I know that's a bit of a cop-out, but I would say Digital Watchdog and Hanwha from the PDK side are the simplest to configure, but all of them have something valuable to contribute, regardless of the setup process inside of there. I don't see any other questions coming through, so I'm going to go ahead and say like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. We do these once a month. Be sure to be here next January, the first Tuesday of January, whatever date that is. We will have our next coaching session. Thank you all for joining, and like I said, reach out if you have any questions. We'll catch you next time.